Hello YouTubers, I'm Parwiz and welcome to Python TKinter full course for beginners. So this is a one video course that we are going to cover different topics in TKinter GUI development. So first of all, what's TKinter? Now TKinter is the Python interface to TK. It's a GUI toolkit for TCL or TK. So TCL, it is also, we can call it TKL. So it's a tool common language, and it's a popular scripting language in the domains of embedded applications, testing, prototyping, and GUI development. On the other hand, TK is an open source multi-platform widget toolkit that is used by many different languages to build GUI programs. So for the installation of TKinter, you don't need to install that because it's a built-in. If you want to skip any part, you can check the video description. I have added a timestamp to the table of content, and you can just simply get the topic that you want in the TKinter. So now let's get started, and we are going to start our coding in TKinter. In this part, I'm going to show you that how you can create your first window in TKinter. I'm using PyCharm IDE for this complete course. So first of all, you need to import TKinter as TK. So after importing TKinter, we need to create an instance of the TKinter. So you can simply create tk.tk. And now we need to create our window title. So title, and you can give whatever title you want. For example, I want to give TKinter first window. And after this, we need to set a size for our TKinter window. So I want it should be 500 by 400, the width and height of our window. Now after this, I'm going to create an icon for my window. So you can simply write icon bitmap, and in here you need to write your icon name. So it is wm icon bitmap, and in here you can write your icon name. So make sure that you have an icon in your working directory. So my icon name is my icon.ico. Now after this, and the last line of code that we are going to write, we need to start our GUI. So you can simply write win.main loop. So now if I run this, you can see this is my first window in TKinter. Also you can see I have a nice icon for my window. In this part, we are going to use object-oriented concept for creating of our window in TKinter. So in the previous part, we have created our window, but in this part, we are going to use a main class for creating of our window. So let's get started. First of all, I'm going to, from TKinter, I want to import all. Now I need to create a class, and I want to call the class whatever you want. For example, I want to call this window, and my this class extends from TK, and this is my constructor or init method in here. And after this, this is my super function, and in the super function you need to write your window and also self, the parent. Now we need to add our title. So because we have a class window and it inherits from our TK, so now you can simply write self.title, and you can give your title window title. So TKinter OOP window. Now we need to set the main size, so self.main size, and for the main size I want to give it 500 by 400. and at the end we are going to create our icon. So icon bitmap, and my icon is my icon.ico. So we have created our class. The last thing we need to create the object of our class, because right now if we run this, there is nothing to be done with this window. So we need to create the object of our window, and after this we need to start our main loop of the TKinter. So main loop. Now if I run this, you can see I have the same window, but now it's a more clean code we have. So you can see TKinter OOP window, and we have a nice window in TKinter. In this part I want to show you that how you can create your first widget or label in TKinter. So I have copied my previous code for creating of window, and I'm going to just change the title to TKinter label like this. So now I'm going to create a new method or function in here. So I'm going to call it div create label. So label is a widget in TKinter. You can simply write self.label, or we are going to just make it like label, and you can use label. The first parameter you can give it self, and another one is the text. So it's the text for the label that we want to give. So for example, this is, I'm going to write TKinter label creation, and also you can give a background or a foreground for your label. For example, for the back or for right now I don't want to give any background or foreground. So this is my label. Now I need to add this label to the layout. So we will talk about layout in the later parts, but we are going to use a grid layout. So self.label.grid, and you can give the column. So I want it should be in column 0, and also you can give a row, so in the row 0. So like this. And now I need to just call this method in my class. So self.createLabel. Now if I run this, you can see I have a nice label in here. It's telling me TKinter label creation. Also you can change the font of your label. So in here I'm going to create a label font variable, and in the tuple you can write the type of the font, the size of the font, and also the style, that it should be bold or italic or some other kind. So now in here you can just simply add a font, or in here you can simply label.config, and for the font you can add label font. So now if I run this, you can see I have a bigger font in here. Also you can give a foreground and also background for your font. So for example, you can give a BG. So for the BG I want to give it black, and for the FG I want to give it yellow. So now if you run this, you can see I have a background and also foreground for my TKinter label. In this part I'm going to talk about a geometry manager in TKinter. So there are different geometry manager or layout management in TKinter that you can use. So we have pack. So if you are planning to design a simple layout, so it's good to use pack. Another layout that we have that's called grid, so it's the mostly used layouts in Python TKinter. So we will use grid a lot, and the best thing about grid is that you can configure your widgets in a row and column. So it's like table that has row and columns. So the last one is place, so it's not mostly used layouts, but it's good because by using place you can configure your widgets in X and Y coordinates. So now let me show you the example of these. So first let me show you the pack. So let me call it create layout, and let me first create a label in here, and I call it pack layout example, and you can simply pack this like this. Okay, so there are different parameters that you can use. So first let me just call this self.createLayout, and if you run this, what's the error? Str object has no TK. Okay, so because we are in the class, we need to give self in here. So now let me just run this. So sorry, also we need to give text in here, so like this. Okay, now let me just run this. Okay, now you can see that we have pack layout example. Now let me just add some more widgets in here. So I want to add button and self, and the text is not going to be expand, so not going to be expand. So it is just a simple and pack layout, and we are not going, it should be expand. So in the second button, let me just copy this and paste it in here. This is if you give expand in here, so let me just give it expand to 1, it will expand and it does not fill the X position. So let me expand and not fill X. Now let me just run this, and you will see that what is different between these two pack. Okay, so now you can see it do not fill, but it expands. So now let me just add another one, so like this. Okay, so if you, for example, make the expand 1 and fill to 1, it fill X and also it expands. So I have expand, and let me just fill also. So fill and X. Now let me just run this. Let me call it fill X and expand. So now you can see we have also fill and also we have expand. So also you can, there are some more that you can specify the site. For example, let me just copy, or just let me just create another button in here, and this is self, and you can give the text, for example, left. The text is left, and let me just pack this, and you can give the side to the left. Okay, so now let me just copy this button and add like this. So this is, for example, center, and this is right, Now if I run this, so side center must be top, bottom, left, right. Oh, sorry, let me just give this left because I'm going to use left. Okay, now let me just run this. You can see that now we have the side is in the left. So if you change this to right, for example, let me change this first one to the right, and if I run this, okay, you can see that this my left button is in the right. So this was creation of pack. And also you can use grid. I have said that using grid you can add your widgets in a column and row. So you can simply use grid, and in here you need to give the column, for example column 0, and I want it should be in row 0. And for this for the button, let me just make it grid, and for this also let me just add in column for example 1 and also row 1. And now if I run this, so now you can see that this is the row and column 0, and this is the column 1 and also row 1. And if you change the column to 0, you will see that our button is in here, so like this. Okay, now we are going to talk about place. So using a place, I have said that by place you can manage your widgets in X and Y position. So you can use absolute positioning in place. So let me just first show you the absolute positioning, and let me change this to dot place. So you can give X, for example 20, and for example Y to 20. And if you run this, you can see that we have the X and Y position for this button. It's absolute positioning. It's not a good idea to use absolute positioning in our layout management. So another way is that you can use the, let me just copy this, the relative positioning, and it is a good idea. So in TKinter mostly you will see that I have always used in this video the grid because it is a good layout, and sometimes I use pack. Okay, so now you can give simply rel X, and for example 0.8, and you can give rel Y 0.9, and you can give rel width, for example 10, and you can give also you can give anchor. So anchor, for example in E it is northeast, like this. So now if you run this, so you can see I have in here, because I haven't a lot used this layout, but we will always use the grid layout and also sometime the pack layout in TKinter. In this part I'm going to show you that how you can create GUI button in TKinter. So now let's get started. I have just a class window. This is just the code for creation of my window, and let me change the title to buttons in TKinter. Okay, so first of all let me just create a label, and or just I'm going to first create a button in here. So for creating a button you can just simply write self.button, and you can simply write TTK. Also you need to import TTK because we are going to use this for creation of button. It has good GUI widgets. So from TKinter import TTK. ttk.button. Okay, now you can give some arguments. So the first one is self. We are going to give self, and the second one is the text that you want to give. So for example, I want to give it click, and also, or you can give it click me, and like this. Okay, now I want to add this button to the grid layout. So self dot button dot grid, and I want it should be in column 0 and in the row 0. Okay, so right now if I run this, let me just run this. Okay, you can see that I have a click me button in here, so you can check click me. Right now there's no functionality for this click me button, but we are going to add a functionality to this. Okay, so how you can add comments to your button. For example, if a user click on this, you want that something should be happen. So for this, first of all, let me just create a label in here. So self.label. This time I'm going to use ttk.label, and the parent is self, and you can give a text. So let me just give it TKinter application. And also we need to add this to the layout or grid layout, and you need to give to the column 1, and for the row I'm going to give it 0, like this. Okay, so now we have also, if I run this, you will see that we have a label in here. So TKinter application. Now we are going to just create a click me. So click me method, or you can give it for example click underscore me. The first thing we need to configure a text to our label. So you can give it self.label.config or configure. So the text I want to give, so it's a change text. So text is changed, and also I'm going to give self.label.configure, and you can give a foreground, for example fg. For example, I want to give it red, and also you can give it a bg background yellow. And now self.button.configure, and this is also, I want to change when I click on that, I want to change the label text with also the button text. So button text changed, button changed, like this. I'm going to write this. Okay, so after creating this, now you can simply add a comment in here. So comment, and we are going to give self.clickMe. So self.clickMe. Now let me just run this. So now if I click on this click me button, you can see text is changed, and also the color is not changed. And let me just or just make it foreground, and now let me run it. So also we have this BGS unknown. Let me just give it background like this. So now you can see Also the text of our button is changed, and also you can see the label text is also changed when we click on our this button. In this part I want to show you that how you can create text box or text entry in TKinter. So now let's get started. I have my window class, it's just a window code. Now also I need to import a TTK, so from TKinter import TTK. And after this, now for creation, let me just create first a method. I call it text entry, for example, whatever you want, but text entry, or you can give it text box, there is no problem. Now the first thing I need, first I'm going to create a variable of self.name, and it is a string var. Now I need to create a label for this, so ttk.label. The first parameter is the self, and also we need to give the text for our label, so it is for example, enter your name. Now after this we need to add this to our grid layout, so I want to add this in column 0 and in row 0, like this. After this we are going to create our text box. You can use entry in TTK if you want to create a text box, so you can just simply use self.textbox ttk.entry. Okay, now the first thing is the parameter that the first thing is the it is our self. We need to give the parent class, and for we need to give a width, so I want it should be 20, and also I want to give the text variable that I have created in here, so text variable, and it is self.name. Okay, so after this now we need to add this to our layout, so let me just copy this grid, and this time I want it should be in row 1. After this we need to create a button, so self.button and ttk.button. The parent is self, and also we need to give the text to this, so click me. After this I want to add this button to the layout, so this time I want it should be in row 2. Okay, now so now first I need to just call my this text entry method in my class, so self.textEntry, and if I run this, okay, so right now you can see I have just my label and I don't have the button and the text entry, because in here I have copied this and I have forgot to change this to TextBox and change this to the button, so like this. Now if I run this, you can see I have just a label with enter your name and click me. So right now we don't have any functionality for the click me. Now at the top let me just create a method, so for the click me, and in here I want to change the label text, so when a user click, and I want to give the text to hello, and whatever the user write in the text box. So I want to get that and concatenate that with the hello. So self.name.get. And now you need to just in your button you need to add a comment, and this is a self.click me. And now let me just run this, and if I write something in here and if I click me, so you can see this is my name, and you can whatever you want you can add and click me. So hello John. In this part I want to show you that how you can focus on a widget in TKinter. So if you run our previous example for the text box, we have our text box, but in here we want to focus in our this text box like this. Okay, so for this you can just simply add in here, you can add a focus. So in your text box you can add self.textbox.focus. And now if I run this, you can see I have the focus in here. It's focusing like this. So if I run it again, you can see I have the focus in this text box. Also you can if you want you can disable a widget. For example, I want to disable this button. You can simply write self.button.configure, and you can add the state to your button. So I want to, it should be a disabled button. Okay, now if I run this again, you can see that my button is disabled. In this part I want to show you that how you can create ComboBox in TKinter. So now let's get started. I have just a window, the boilerplate code for creation of the window. Also I need to import from TKinter import TTK. Okay, so the first thing we need, we are going to create a method called create combo. So now first we need to create our text variable. We will need this in the later, so let me just call it self.language, and it is string var. Now after this we need to create our combo box, so self.combobox ttk.combobox. We need to give the parent to self, and we need to give the width for our combo box, for example 20, and we need to give our text variable to self.language. Now we need to add some items to our combo box, so self.combobox, and we need to add the values to our this combo box. It's a tuple, so I want to add Python, Java, C++, C#, Ruby, or for example you can add for example PHP and CSS. Okay, so it's good. Now after this we need to add our this combo, so self.combobox.grade. So I want it should be in column 1 and row 1 like this. Okay, so I need to call my this method at the top, so self.createCombo, and if I run this you will see that I have a combo box with the items that we have created in here. Now I want to add some functionality to this. I need to add a button with also a label. So for this, let me just create a label in here. So self dot label and ttk dot label itself, and the text is, for example, I want to select your favorite, select your language, for example, like this. Okay, now after this we need to add this to our label. So let me, our grid, so let me just change this to the label, label, and this time it should be in column 0 and row 0. Now also we need to create a button, so ttk dot button, and for the, it's the parent itself, and for the text I'm going to give for example click me, and also we will create a command for, so for right now let me just create the widget. Let me add this to the layout, so grid layout, and change this to button. This time it should be in column 1 and row 1. Now if I run this, you will see that I have a label which I have in here, so I think it's just a little bit sorry, the combo, it should be in row 0. Yeah, now let me just run it again. Okay, so now you can see this is our and this is our text also. Let me just make my layout much more. Let me just bring some more change to my button layout. So I want it should be in column 2 and row 0. So now if I run this, okay, now you can see it's nice looking, and you can click in here and it should be changed. So now we need to create a method for our push button. So let me just call it if click me, and we need to change when a user for example select a language from our combo box, and when he click on our button, I want that the label, the language should be written in the label. So self.label.configure, and you can add the text, for example selected, and you can concat this with the item that is taken from the combo box. So self.language dot get, and the last thing we need in the button, we need to add this command. So command self dot click me. Now let me just run this. Okay, so now if I, for example, select Python, if I click on click me, so you can see selected Python. If I click on PHP, if I so selected PHP, and if I click on C++, click me, selected C++. In this part I want to show you that how you can create RadioButton in TKinter. So I have my window code, and let me just import TTK. Okay, so let me just create some, for example, color 1, some variables in here, blue and for color 2 it is red, and for color 3 it is for example gold or whatever you want. So now we are going to create our radio button in here, so you can just simply create radio, and now we need 3 radio button. So first let me just create my text variable, so radio values, and this time we need an int var because it should be integer. Now we need to create our first radio button, so rad1 and ttk.radioButton self, and also you need to give the text. So the text I want color 1 for the text, and the value I want to give it 1 like this, and also the variable so I want to give it so that I have created at the top self.radValues, self.radValues, okay, like this. So now let me just add this in the grid, so self.grade, and I want it should be in column 0 and row 0. Also you can add a sticky to the layout. So for the sticky I want to give it W, and also for the column span, so column span I want it should be, so it's a lowercase s, so column span, so for the column span I want to give it 3, so self.rate1, I have forgot to add this dot grade. Okay, now I want to add 2 more radio buttons in here, so let me just copy this and paste. This time it is red 2, and I want the colors 2, and for the value I want it should be 2 like this, and for the column this time I want 0, and for the row it should be in the row 1 like this. Let me just copy once more, this time radio 3, and for radio 3 the color should be the text should be 3, and also the value I want to give it the third value, the 3, and you can add this in here. This time it should be in 2, in row 2 like this. Okay, so now let me just call my this self.create radio, and let me just run this. I have error, so unknown variable we have in here. So oh sorry, we have misspelling the variable, so it should be like this. Let me just copy this. Okay, so now if I run this again, error, so object has no attribute rate 1. Okay, I have forgot to also add self in here because we need these values out of this method, so self.read3. okay, now if I run this, okay, so now you can see we have 3 radio buttons in here, blue, red, gold. Now how you can handle when a user, for example, click on this. Okay, so for this for handling the events in a radio button, let me just create a new method in here, so I call it def rate event. So now in here I'm going to first get the value, so that which radio button is selected. You can use self.rateValues.get. okay, now after this I'm going to check this, so if rate selected is 1, so we need to change the color to the background color to the red color. So background to the color 1, and elif, so elif our red selected is 2, I want to change this, so let me just copy this and paste it in here. I want to change this to the another color, and in also elif, so elif our red selected is 3, I want to change this to my third color. So also now you need to add the events in here, so you need to add comment, and we are going to add self.red event. Let me just copy and add this in my 3 radio buttons, so like this and like this. Now let me just run my this. Okay, if I click on blue, so my color is changed to blue. If I click on red, it's changed to red. And if I click on gold, it's changed into gold. In this part I want to show you that how you can create check buttons in TKinter. So first of all, I'm going to import TTK. So for creation of check button, I'm going to create a method, so div create a check buttons, and I want to create 3 check buttons. So first, there are different check buttons in TKinter that you can use. For example, we have disable check button, we have unchecked, and also we have enabled check button. So first let me create a disable check button, so ttk dot check button. The parent is self, and the text is, for example, this enabled, and the state is the state I want to give it is a disabled state. So now let me just add this to the my grade, so check dot grade, and I want it should be in row 0 and column 1, like this way. So let me just call my this cell dot create check button method in my class. If I run this, so we have a check button, but it is a disable check button. We cannot do anything with this. So another check button is that let me just copy this and paste it in here. It's check 2, and I want it should be in column 1. In so let me just change this to column 0, and this should be in column 1. Okay, so this is the text is unchecked, so this is an unchecked check button, and if you run this, we don't need to give a state for this, and if you run this, okay, so you can see we have it's by default checked, so by default unchecked, sorry, it's by default unchecked. So the another one is enabled, so it's an enabled check button. It's like it's not a checked, but it's enabled. So check 3, and the text I want to give it enabled, and I want to add this in column 2. So now if I run this, you can see that it is an enabled like this. In this part I want to show you that how you can create a scroll text control in TKinter GUI. So first of all, we need to import this widget. So from TKinter import scroll text, and now we need to create a method in here. So div create, let me call it scroll text. Now after this we need to give a scroll width and height for this, so I want to give it 30, and for the scroll height I want to give it 10. So the first thing we need, now let me just create a scroll text, and now I'm going to use the scrolled text dot scrolled text, and in here you need to first give the parent itself, and we need to give the width and height. So the width is our scroll width and the height is our scroll height. And after this we are going to give a wrap. So first let me just don't give a wrap and I'll give that. So now we need to add this to our grade. So scroll text dot grade. So in the column 0, and also we need to give a column span, so 3, like this. Okay, now we need to call this method in here, self dot create scroll text, and if I run this, so you can see I have a scroll text in here. Also, if you want, you can give a wrap, so wrap and tk dot word. So let me just from TKinter import tk. Oh, I don't need because I have imported all. Okay, so now let me just run this, and or I want to just give it word, so let me just run it. Okay, let me just from import TKinter as tk, so import TKinter as tk and tk dot word. Now let me just run it. Okay, so must be column span, and the column span is 3. So okay, sorry, I have give this in the wrong place because I need to give this in here, so like this. Now let me just run it again. Okay, now you can see we have a text area, text control, like this. So you can see we have a scroll in here, so when we can scroll this. In this part I want to show you that how you can create a label frame. So using a label frame you can label a widget. So now let me just first import, so from TKinter import TTK, and the first thing I need, I'm going to create self.labelFrame. Okay, TTK.labelFrame. We are going to use this, and we need to give the first one is self, and we need to give a text. For example, you want to give whatever you want. Let me just give it TKinter LabelFrame. So after this we need to add this label frame to the grade layout. So column 0, row, I want to give row 7, and also padding X, I want to give a pad X 20, and a padding y to 40, like this. Okay, so after this, let me just create a class called div create labels, and I want to create some label in here. So ttk dot label, and I want to add my this label in the label frame. So self dot label frame, like this. And you can give a text. So for the text, I want to give it label 1, and you can directly add this to your grid layout. So dot grid column 0, and also you can give a row, so also row 0. Let me just copy this, and I want to add 3 label frame in here. So self let me just give it label 2, and this time I want it should be in row 1, and label 3, and this time it's in row 2nd. Also, you need to call your this create labels method in here. So now let me just run this. Okay, so now you can see this is a label frame that we have added our this 3 label in a label frame. In this part, I want to show you that how you can create menu and also menu items in TKinter. So now let's get started. I'm going to create a new method in here. So div create menu. So the first thing I need, I'm going to create a menu bar. So menu bar menu, and you need to give the parent to self. Also, we need to config this. So self.config, and we are going to give our menu to menu bar. So menu bar. Now after creating menu bar, we need to create so a file menu. So file menu, and now we are going to give the menu in here, and also we need to give the menu bar, and also you can give a tier off. So the first time I'm not going to give a tier off, but I will show you that what it does mean. Now we have file menu. After this, we need to add some, for example, we need to add some items like new, exit, open in our this menu. So I can add menu bar dot add cascade. So for the label, I'm going to give it file, and for the menu, I want to give it file menu. Now after this, let me add some add comment. So the label should be new, and file menu dot add comment, and the label is exit. And also you can add file menu dot add separator. So I want to add a separator between these two, and also I need an open. So file menu dot add comment, and I want the label should be open, like this. So now we are going to add another menu to menu bar. It is a help menu and menu. So menu bar, like this. And now I can add menu bar dot add cascade, cascade. So the label is help, and the menu is help menu. So after this, now let me just add help menu, and I want to add just about item in my this. so label, and I call it about. So now we have created this, and now let me just call my this menu in here. Let me call this my this method. So create menu, and now I'm going to run this. Okay, so now you can see we have a file, and we have about. So if you see, the TR is for this. If you don't give the TR off, so by default you can for example you can divide this menu like this. So you can, if you click in this, we have our menu items in here. So if I give TR off, so let me just add the TR off. You can add that in our so in here, file menu bar, and in here I'm going to add a TR off to 0. So now if I run this, you can see I don't have that in here right now, but for help I have. Let me just add this also in my help. So let me just copy this and paste this in here. Now let me just run this. Okay, now you can see we have this menu with menu items. In this part I want to show you that how you can add comments to your menu item. So I have created this menu with menu items. For example, if I want to click on exit, my window should be exit. So for this we are going to add comments on our menu items. Now I'm going to create a new method in here. So let me just create, and I call it window close, or you can write like this, window close. Okay, so you can simply write self.quit, and also you can destroy so the window, so self.destroy, and at the end you can exit. Okay, so now we have created this method, and now I want to connect this with my exit. So in your exit you can add a comment like this, and you can write your close window close in here. Now let me just run this. So now if I click on exit, you can see my window is closed. So let me do it once again. Exit. Okay, now we are going to learn about creation of tab widgets in TKinter. So now let's get started. The first thing I'm going to import from TKinter, import TTK. Okay, so after this, now first of all you need to create a tab control using a notebook, ttk.notebook. So let me just create a tab control, and ttk.notebook, and you need to give the self as a parent. Now I want to create my first tab, so I call it tab1, and we are going to use .frame for this, and we are going to add tab control in our first tab. Okay, and now we are going to get the tab control and .add, and we are going to add the table in here, and not table, tab1, sorry. And also we need to give the text for our tab1. So the text I want to give it, for example, whatever you want. For example, I want to give it example 1. And now the same, we are going to create a tab 2. So ttk.frame, and we need to add our tab control to our frame, and after this we need to add our tab 2 to our tab control. So tab 2, and the text is, let me just give it example 2. And after this we need to pack our tab control. So tab control dot pack, and you need to give expand to 1, and also you need to give fill to bot. Pack is also one of kind of labels in TKinter that you can use like grid. Okay, so after this, now let me just run this. Okay, so now you can see we have 2 tabs. This is my example 1 and this is my example 2. So you can add widgets to these tabs as you wish. In this part we are going to add widgets, GUI widgets in our tabs. So we have created tabs in the previous part. Now we are going to add widgets. So just now I'm going to bring some change to my code from the previous part. So I want to give self.tab1 and I want to give self.tab2, and we need to just change this to self.tab1 and also this self.tab2. So the result will be the same, but we need these tabs in our methods, so you can see. Okay, so now I'm going to create a new method in here. I call it add widgets, like this. The first thing I need, I'm going to create a label frame, so I call it LabelFrame. LabelFrame. Now I want to add my tab 1 to this label frame, and I'm going to give a text to this that's called, for example, example 1 tab. Okay, and now we need to add this label frame to the grid layout like this. So for the column I want to give it 0, and for the row I want to give it 0, and also I want to give a padding X to 8 and a pad Y to 4. Okay, so after this, now I need to create a label, so I call it label, and I want to add this label to the label frame. And for the text I want to just give it, for example, enter your name. And now we need to label.grade. We are going to add this in column 0 and row 0 like this. So now we have created label. Now we need to create the text edit, so text edit, and it is an entry, so entry, and I want to add this to my label frame, and I want to give a width of 200 or 25 like this. So after this we need to add this to the grid layout, and I want to give column 1 and I want to give row 0. So after this we need to create our label 2. So label 2, and this is label, and I want to add label frame, and for the text I want to give enter your password, so like this. And after this we need to label2.grid, add this in column 0 and row 1. So these are our text edit and 2 labels. Now I'm going to create another text edit. So let me just call it text edit 2, and it is an entry. I want to add this in my label frame, and I want to give width of 25. Now I want to text edit 2.grade, so we need to add this in column 1 and row 1. so like this. Okay, so after this we need to create another label frame for our tab 2. So these widgets are related to tab 1, and we need to create so another tab that right now there is nothing, because so let me just call this in here. So self dot add widgets. Now let me just run this. Okay, so you can see in the first tab we have these two items. We do enter your password, so I will make it correct, but we should have enter your name and also enter your password. So now we need to add some items to our example 2, to our tab 2. So let me call it so tab 2. So now first thing we need to create a new label frame for this. So I call it LabelFrame 2. So label frame 2, and this is a label frame, and we want to add tab 2 in our label frame. And for the text I want to give it second tab example, like this. Okay, now we need to add this to the grid, so grid layout, and we need to give the column to 0. We need to add this to column 0 and row 0. So okay, so after adding grid, now we need to add some labels to our this text edit. So first let me correct this, that where's the problem for this. So the problem is in our label 2, because we are adding label 1 and label 2 in the same column and row. So I need to change the row of this to 1. So now if I run this, you can see I have these items, enter your name, password, in our first tab, and in the second tab let me just copy these all. So let me just copy and paste this in my second in here, and I need to just change this to LabelFrame 2, because this time we have LabelFrame 2. Okay, so let me just run this. Okay, so you can see this is our example 1 tab, and this is our example 2 tab, second tab example, that successfully we have added some widgets in our tabs. Now we are going to talk about creation of MessageBox in TKinter. So there are different MessageBox in TKinter. For example, we have information MessageBox, warning MessageBox, error MessageBox. So we will see one by one. So the first thing I'm going to create a new method in here. I call it create button. So, and I'm going to just create a self.btn, a simple button in here. Also I need to import TTK, so from TKinter import TTK. Okay, TTK.button, and I want to give it self, and for the text I want to give it open message box, or just let me like this. Okay, and let me just now self.btn.grade, and I want to add this in column, for example column 10 and row 10. So now you can call this self.create button, and if you run this you'll see that we have a button in here. So it's not okay, because we don't have, and let me just change this to 1 to 1 because we don't have more items. And okay, now you can see we have open message box in here. Now after this let me just create a new method in here, and I call it info message. So this will be an info message box. Now you can simply use okay, so also you need to import MessageBox from TKinter. So from TKinter import MessageBox as message, like this. So let me just change this file name because it will conflict with my MessageBox that I have in TKinter. Okay, now I have changed this to a MessageBox because I have created the file at the name of messagebox.py, and it will conflict with our TKinter module. So now we are going to just because okay, so this is message dot, and you can see we have different message boxes, and this time we need show info. So dot show info, and you can it needs some parameters. So the first one is you can give a title, so I am going to give it Python info message box, or TKinter, so TKinter info message box. And also you can give for example the description. So this GUI is built in Python TKinter. Okay, so now you can add comment. So let me add comment, and we are going to call this self.info message. Now let me just run this. Okay, so now if I click on this, we are getting error. TKinter message box has no attribute show info. So let me just import this again from TKinter import message box as message. We have error. Let me just check. Okay, so the problem is here, it is a lowercase s, and it's like this, show info. So now let me just run this, and also this is also smaller, this like this, show info. Now it's correct. Okay, so now if I click on open message box, you can see we have a message box. You can see this is title, and this is this GUI is built in Python TKinter. This is an information message box. Now the another message box that we are going to talk and create example, that's called a warning message box. So diff warn message, and you can simply use message.show warning. So warning message title, and in here you can add this is a warning. Okay, so now let me just change my comment to warn message. So warn message, and now if I run this, and if I click on open message box, you can see this is warning. We have title with text. Another message box that we are going to create, so that's called error message box. So diff error message. You can simply write message.show error, and error message title, and this is an error message box. Okay, let me just add this error message in here, self.error message, and now I'm going to run this. If I click on this, you can see that this is an error message box. Now we're going to create a multi-choice box in TKinter. So for this, I'm going to create a new method in here. So let me just call it diff ChoiceBox, and now I can create an answer variable and message dot. You can use ask a question, or for example ask yes no cancel. So there are different that you can use, but we're going to use ask yes no cancel. So you can give a title, so it needs a title, a message. So I'm going to give it a multi-choice box title, and you can give whatever you want. So for example, do you want to quit? So do you want to quit? And now if answer, so we have misspelling in answer, so this like this. Okay, so if answer is true, so if it was yes, we are going to quit our application. So if answer is true, we are going to quit the application. Now we need to add this in our button, so let me create a comment and self.choicebox. Let me just run this. Okay, so now if I click on open ChoiceBox, you can see we have choices. Do you want to quit? Yes, no, cancel. If you click on yes, the application will be cancelled. Now we are going to create SpinBox in TKinter. So creation of SpinBox is so simple. Let me just create a method of SpinBox, and so self.spin, and you can use SpinBox. So TTK by default doesn't have SpinBox. We need to use the widget from the TKinter. So as you know, using the widgets from TKinter is not looking good, but you can add a SpinBox to your TTK, and you can use the modern layout from TTK. So right now we are going to just use the custom SpinBox from the TKinter library. So now first parameter is the self, and we need to give from, so it should be from 0, the SpinBox, and 2 I want to give it to 10, whatever you want you can give. And now I can add this to my spin.grade, and I want to add this in column 0 and row 0. So now if I call my self.spinBox, and if I run this, you can see I have the SpinBox like this. Also you can handle callback for the SpinBox if you want. For this, let me just create a text control. So scroll width to 30, and also scroll height to 10, and now I can self.control text and scroll. I also need to import, I think, scroll text. So let me just import from TKinter import scroll text. Okay, now we are going to use the scroll text in here. Scroll text dot scroll text and self. You can give the width to scroll width and height to scroll height, like this. And also let me just give a wrap to the word. Now after this we need to self.control text dot grade, and we are going to add this in column 1 and also row 2, like this. Okay, so now we need to create our callback for our SpinBox. I want to create this at the top in here. I call it diff spin callback. First I need to get the value from the SpinBox, so you can use self.spin.get, and after that you can whatever you can print the value, you can set the value to the scroll text that we have created. Let me just set that self.control text.insert. So insert, and I want to insert the value, and in the SpinBox you need to add just a comment. So in your SpinBox, and here you need to add a comment of self.spin callback, like this. Okay, now let me just run this. So unknown width, okay, I got the problem, so it's in here, width. Now let me just run this. Okay, so if I, for example, you can see we have the callback in here, and we can do like this. Now it's time to create ProgressBar in TKinter. So now let's get started. The first thing we need, I'm going to just make a little bit nice GUI. So I want to first create a label frame. So I want to create the label frame in my main window class. So I call it LabelFrame. And we need to import, so from TKinter import TTK. Okay, so TTK.LabelFrame. Now it needs the self parameter, it's for the parent, and the text I want to give it a ProgressBar example, like this. Okay, now let me just self.LabelFrame, and I want to add this in column 0 and also row 0 in my layout. After this I'm going to create a method called create ProgressBar. Like this. Okay, so first let me just create 2 buttons, one for starting our ProgressBar and the second for stopping of our ProgressBar. So self.button 1 and TTK.button, and I want to add the label frame to my, because I want to add this button to my label frame, and also the text I want to give it start ProgressBar. Now let me just self.button1.grade, and I want this in column 0 and also row 0. So after this, let me just copy my this code because I want 2 buttons. So this should be for my second button, and this time I want it should be stop progress bar, and also let me change this to button 2 and column 0 and row 2. Okay, so now let me just call this okay, so after creation of these buttons, now I want to just create my run progress bar and also stop progress bar. Okay, so in here the first I want to just start progress. So you can simply write self before this I have forgot to create my progress bar, so before writing this, let me just create my progress bar. So self dot progress bar, and we are using TTK dot progress bar, the parent is self, and we need to give an orientation. So orient, we want horizontal progress bar, so horizontal, and also you can give the length of your progress bar. So for the length you can give it, for example, 200 ET, and for the mode we can give it for example we can give it determinate. Okay, so now we need to add this to our grid layout. So self dot progress bar dot grid, and for the column I want 0, and for the row I want it should be in row 3. Let me just give a padding y to 10. Okay, so now we are going to work on our start and stop progress bar. So you can simply write self dot progress bar dot start. So you can use start, or you can use this start, and we don't need want to give. If you want, you can give a parameter. So let me just show you. We have interval you can give, but I don't want to give any interval. So another one is the stop progress bar, for stopping of our progress bar. So def stop progress, and for this also you can simply write self dot progress bar dot stop. Okay, now we have 2 buttons, and the first button, let me just add a command. So it is self dot start progress bar, and for my stop, let me just a command self dot stop progress bar. Okay, now let me just run this, and hopefully we don't get any error. Okay, we don't have progress bar, obviously, because we haven't called our def create progress bar in here. Self dot create progress bar. Now let me just run this again. Okay, now we have our 2 progress bar, our 2 buttons with progress bar. If I click on start progress bar, you can see we have the progress bar, it's running. And if I click on a stop progress bar, now it's stopped. Start progress bar, stopped. In this part we are going to learn creating of canvas in TKinter. So how you can create canvas in TKinter? So let me just create a method. I call it diff create canvas, and also we are going to add for example a circle to the canvas. Or okay, so let me just first create a canvas object. So canvas, and you need to add some parameters, for example arguments, self, and for the BG it's a background color, I want to give it blue, and also you can give the height. So for the height I want to give it 250, and for the width I want to give it 300. And now I want to create the coordinates or chord, so 10, 50, 240, and also 210. After this we need to add this canvas to the our layout. So we are going to use pack layout. So pack, and we need to give a expand. So expand is yes, and the fill is bot, like this. Fill is bot. Okay, so after this now we need to create an arc. Sorry, we are going to create an arc, not circle. So now let me just create canvas dot create. So we have different, you can use create arc, create line, create image, create polygon, rectangle, and different. We are going to just use a create arc, and we are going to give the code, so the coordinates that we have created, and we need to give start to 0, also extend to 150, and the field should be red. So red, so the field of our arc should be red. Now you can use canvas dot pack like this. Okay, so now let me just call this self dot create canvas, and now if I run this you can see I have an arc in the canvas. So I have window, in the window I have canvas, and in the canvas I have this arc. If you want to remove this the color of the color, you can comment this pack, and if you run this you can see we have just colored the canvas, not all the window. So like this you can create canvas. So we have created canvas, and also we have added an arc to the canvas. This time instead of adding an arc we are going to add an image to our canvas. Make sure that you have installed PIL or PIL library. It is a library for image processing in Python. Also make sure that you have added an image to your working directory, as I have already added. So now let's get started. First I need to import from PIL. I'm going to import image TK, so image TK. Also I need to import image. Now in here I'm going to just remove this arc, and let me just uncomment this now, and also you can change this. For example, I want this time a red. Okay, now we are going to create an image object, so I call it image, and I want to open my image. So my image name is, you can give your image name in here, whatever it is. And after this we are going to create our canvas image. So canvas dot image, and I'm going to use image TK dot photo image, and I need to add my img in here. And now you can use canvas dot create image, so you can use this create image, and you need to give this 0 0. Also you need to add the image, so image, it is canvas dot image, and also we need to give an anchor of northwest, so NW, like this. Now let me just run this. You can see now we have image in our canvas. So we have, you can see that this is our image, a nice cake in the canvas. In this part I want to show you that how you can add or embed Matplotlib in TKinter window. So Matplotlib is a data visualization library in Python programming language. So before this, make sure that you have installed Matplotlib and also you have some familiarity with Matplotlib. Okay, now let's get started. I have my window. Now I need some imports. So from matplotlib.figure, I'm going to import figure because I want to create some charts in here, some figures. Okay, and after this we need to import from matplotlib.backends tk. So you can use this and different, for example, you can embed in GTK3 or you can embed even in PyQt5. So because we are going to, so you can use Qt4, Qt5. We need TKEGG because it is TKinter. So from that we need to import a figure canvas TK AGG, and also we need to import navigation toolbar. So navigation toolbar TKAGG. Okay, so after importing of these, now let me just create a method in here, and I want to just add, okay, so let me div create mat canvas. So this is a canvas that we are going to add our Matplotlib graph. So first we need to create a figure, so figure, and we need to add the figure size. So for the fixed size I want it should be 5, it's a tuple, and DPI or density pixel I want to give it 100. After this we need to add subplot. So if you're familiar with plotting in Matplotlib, you will know about these concepts. So you can use if.add subplot, and we are going to add the subplot. After this we need to add some data because we want to plot the data. So I'm going to just plot this data. So what data, whatever you want, you can just leave the data in here. And so for example, this is my another data. So 8, for example, 3, 4, 1, 2, 9, 8, or 2, like this. So let me just remove these two. Okay, so now it's good. After this we need to create a canvas, a figure canvas. Let me just call it canvas, and it is a figure canvas TKEG, and we need to add our figure in here, and the second parameter is self. After this we need to show the canvas, so canvas.show, and now we need to get the TKWidget for the canvas. So get underscore TKWidget, and we need to pack this. We need to give a site for this, so site, and it is bottom. Also we need to give a field, so we want it should be a complete field, and we need to expand to true. So after this we need to so for right now, also you can create toolbar if you want, but I don't want to create toolbar. I have just imported in here, but you can use. So let me now just add this. So canvas dot underscore tk. So let me just check this. So canvas dot underscore tk canvas dot pack, and now also side to top, and we need it should be fill. Also we need to make the expand to true like this. Okay, so now let me just call this method, and hopefully we don't get any error. Self dot create mat canvas. So now I'm waiting. Canvas dot show, we have an error right there or no? Okay, so now you can see this is how we have embedded Matplotlib in TKinter window like this. You can make it bigger and you can make it smaller. Now I want to show you that how you can add legends and also navigation toolbar to your Matplotlib in TKinter. So I've imported my library, my classes that I want. So now let me just create mat canvas. The first thing I need, I'm going to create a figure, so figure canvas, and this time it's I want to give a fixed size. So it's not, it is just a figure, not figure canvas. So figure, and I want to give a fixed size. So it's a tuple of 12.5, and I want to give a face color. So face color to the white. Sorry. Okay. After this we need to create axis. So axis fig dot add subplot, and now it's time to create our values. So first x values 1 2 3 4, and I have y value 0, so y values 0. So this is a list of 6, 7.5, 8, and also 7.5. And also y values 1. For this I'm going to give it 5.5, 6.5, 8, and 6. Also we have y values 2, 6.5, 7, 8, and also 7. Now we need to create our axis. So for our these values, so t0 axis dot plot, and we need to add our x value and y value 0. So this is also for plotting of our axis. So t1 axis dot plot x values and y value 1, and for the t2 axis dot plot, and this is x value and also y value 2. So now we have created this, and now we need to create our y and also x label, or we can call it our legends. So this is the label, and access dot set underscore y label. It is a vertical label, and access dot set underscore x label. Horizontal label. After this, now we need to add this to the grade like this, and we are going to create the legend. So fic.legend, we need to create a legend for our T0, T1 and also T2 plots, and we can give first line, second line and also third line. And also we need to add an upper right. So after creating of our legends, now we need to create our canvas. So canvas and figure canvas TKEG, and we want to add our fic and also self. So we need to show the canvas dot show, and we need to get the TKWidget. So dot get TKWidget dot pack, and we need to add the same value that we have added in the previous part. So it's bottom, and the field is bot, and the expand, so the expand is true, like this. Now after this, let me first run this, and after that I will add my navigation toolbar. So now canvas dot underscore TK canvas dot pack, and let me add the same these in here. This time we need to change the side to top. Let me just call this method and self dot create mat canvas, and I'm going to run this. Okay, so now you can see we have our these are the legends that we have, our 3 lines and vertical label and horizontal label. Now how you can add a navigation toolbar? So for this, now for navigation toolbar in here, we are going to create our navigation toolbar. So I'm going to call it toolbar and navigation toolbar. We need to add this to the canvas and the parent is self, and also we need to update the toolbar. So update. Now let me just run this. Okay, so now you can see we have this toolbar in here, and you can zoom it like this, and you can save the figure, and you can do a lot of things with this. In this part I want to show you that how you can create a dialog widget in TKinter. So how you can open a browser file using a dialog widget in TKinter. So now let's get started. The first thing I need some imports. So from TKinter import TTK, and also okay, so first thing I'm going to create a label frame. So cell.labelFrame and ttk.labelFrame. So you need to give the parent to self. Also we need to give a text to open a file. Now after this we need to add this to our grid layout, so like this. So now I want it should be in column 0, in row 1, and also path X to 20 and path Y to 20. Okay, so after this I'm going to create a button that when we click on the button we need to browse, open the browse widget. So let me just call it div create button, and in here let me just create self.button ttk dot, or we can just use, okay, so let me just use button, we don't need to add self. Okay, so button ttk dot button, and you need to give the parent to self, and also okay, so we need to add this button to the label frame, and after that we need to give the text, so browse file, and okay, so now we need to add this to the grid, so button dot grid, and I want the column should be 1 and the row should be 1. After this we need to write the file dialog, and now we need to first create a file name, so let me call it file name, and file dialog, so we need to import file dialog in here from TKinter import file dialog. Okay, so file dialog dot ask, you can see we have ask directory, ask open file name, open file. We need to use ask open file name. So also we need to give the initial dir, so this is the initial directory. So for the initial directory I want to give the default, and I want to give a title for this, so select a file, and also we need to specify the file type, so what file should be open. So let me add a file type. So the file type that we need to use, that is we need to use GPEG, and dot GPG, and so the another one is we need to use all files, so also we are going to open all files, and you need to give the extension, so asterisk dot asterisk. Okay, like this. So now after this creating our file name, we need to create a label, so let me just create a label, and ttk dot label, we need to add this to the label frame, so self.labelFrame, and for right now I don't want to give any text for this. Now I want to add this to the grid layout, so it should be in column 1 and it should be in row 2. Label dot configure, and the text is self.file name. So self, it's not self, but it is file name, like this. Okay, so now we are going to add a comment in here, so in our button, and it is self.file dialog. Now if I run this, okay, so I need to call my this diff create button in here. Cell.create button, and now if I run this, you can see I have a browse file, and you can choose a file, for example, whatever you want, and you can see we have the path in here. In this part I want to show you that how you can connect your TKinter application with MySQL database. So for this purpose we are using MySQL client. So first of all, you need to install MySQL client by pip install MySQL client. I have already installed this and I don't want to install it again. Okay, now also you need to have I'm using WAMP server, and let me just create a database in here, my TKinter, and click on go. Okay, so okay, let me just create a table. I have created okay, so now my TKinter and create. So database my TKinter has been created. Now I don't want to add any table for this. Okay, so the first thing we need after creation of a database, now let me just first create a method in here, diff create button or create widgets, and first of all let me just import from TKinter, import TTK, and import MySQL DB as MDB. So we need to first create a button, so self dot, or we are going to just use button ttk dot button, and before this also I need to create a label frame, self.labelFrame ttk.labelFrame. The text is I want to give it database connection, and also I want to add this label frame to the grid. I want to give column 0 and also row 0. Also you can give a path x to 20 and path y to 20. After this, now I want to add this button to the label frame, and you can give a text to this, so text, and this is a connection status. Now I need to add this to the grade, button grade, column 0 and row 0. So after this we need to create a label also. So self.label ttk.label, and for I want this also in my, it should be in my label frame, and for the text for right now I'm going to just give an hello. or you can leave it blank. Or okay, so self.label.grade, in column 0 it should be, and also row 1. After this creation of these widgets, now we need to create a connection db method. So let me call it db connect, and we are going to use a try, and here I'm going to create mdb.connect. You need to add localhost. This is your host, and this is your username root, and I don't have password, and this is your database name, so it is my TKinter, like this. Okay, now if the connection was successful, I want to change the label text to the connected successfully. And if the connection was error, we need to give an except mdb.error as e self.label.configure, and the text I want to give it not successfully connected, not successfully connected. Okay, after this now I'm going to just so now in here I'm going to add a comment to this, so comment, and I want to add self.db connect, and we need to call our this method in here, self.createWidgets. Now if I run this right now, I will receive as okay, so I have received an error, so let me just check this. Okay guys, so the problem is unknown option comment. In here I have and the button I need to add an in, now it's comment. So now let me run it again. Okay, so right now if I click on connection status, you can see connected successfully, because right now we have my TKinter database. Now let me just change this to, for example, something that is not, we have for example this, we don't have this database, and if I run this again, and if I click on connection status, not successfully connected. So this was database connection in TKinter. In this part I want to show you that how you can insert data to Mysql database from TKinter. So I have already created some codes. So first I have imported Mysql DB, and also I have imported message, and I have just a label frame in here in my main window class, and also I have a create widgets that I have 2 labels with 2 text edits. So let me just run this. Also I have 1 button for inserting data. Now you can see I have just a label with text edit, and also enter name, enter password, and insert data. So also you need to open your web server, and in your database that we have created in previous part, I'm going to create a table of data. Now you need to give the number of columns, 3 I want it should be. So this is ID, and this is the name, and this is password. So it is integer, and let me just make it auto increment, and also primary key. You can give the length to, let me just okay, length to, for example, 20, and this is varchar 200, and also varchar 100. Now let me just save this. Okay, now my database is created with 3 fields, and right now if you see I don't have any data in my this database. Now let me just create a new method in here, and I'm going to call it diff db connect. So diff db connect, and in here the first thing I'm going to create a connection. So con mdb dot connect, and you need to give your local host in here. After that you need to give the username, it's root, and for the password I don't have, and my database name is my TKinter. And now after this we need to, because we are going to insert, we need to create the cursor object. So con dot cursor, and after this now we need to execute our query. So cur dot execute. Okay, so it is an insert, so insert into, so our database name and table name is data, and we have two fields. The first one is name and the second one is password, like this. And also you need to give the values. So values, let me just bring it in the down. Okay, so for the values I'm going to create some string placeholders. So because we have two data, and so like this is my first one, and this is my second one. And now we need to get our data from the text field that we have. So because we have two edit text, and now we need to get those from get the text. So I can join this, so join, and now in here I need to get this. So self dot text edit, this is the first text edit dot get. By using this you can get the first data from your edit text. And also we are going to do this for the second one. So dot join, and in here self dot text edit 2 dot get. Okay, so like this you can do. And after this we are going to just after inserting data we need to give a simple message box. So dot show info, inserting data or whatever you want, and let me just give data inserted successfully. Now after this we need to call our this db connect in our button. We need to give a comment, so comment self.db connect. Let me just run my this simple application. Okay, so now let me just data in here, for example whatever you want, and you can give a password and insert data. So data inserted successfully. And if I check my database, so this is the database, you can see I have the first data. And let me just add another one. This is the password, insert data, data inserted successfully. And if I check my database, so you can see I have the second data in here. In this part I'm going to show you that how you can create a simple list box in TKinter. So now let's get started. I'm going to create a new method. I call it diff create list box, and now I want to create the object of the list box. So list box, and you need to give the parent to self. Now I need to add some data to this list box. So listbox dot insert, So this is the index. So in the first index I want to add for example Python listbox.insert. So in the second I want to add C++ listbox.insert. In the third I want to add Java listbox.insert. In the fourth I want to add C#. So you can add a lot of data, so let me just add one more. So in the fifth index I want to add for example Ruby or whatever you want, so Ruby. So just simply you can simply create, and now let me just call my method in here. So self.create listbox, and now if I run this, so I don't have the list box in here. Okay, so I need to pack this list box, add just a layout to this. So I'm using a pack layout. I want to pack this. This is a kind of layout, and now let me just run this. Okay, so now you can see we have these data as a list box in TKinter. In this part I want to show you that how you can create a color chooser in TKinter. So first of all you need to from TKinter import color chooser, so like this. And after this let me just create a button in here, so div create button, and I'm going to just create, also let me just import from TKinter import TTK. Okay, now let me just create a btn TTK dot button, and it needs some, we need to give self, and the text I want to give open color chooser, so open color chooser like this. Okay, after this we need to add this to the grid layout, so it should be in column 0 and also row 0. And now after this I'm going to just create a method of div color chooser in here, so div color chooser, and in here we are going to create our color chooser. It's type of RGBX and also HX. Now you can simply use color chooser dot ask color, and just simple like this. You don't need to add any more thing. Now I need to add the comment in here. I want to call self dot color chooser, and also I need to call my this create button in here. So now let me just run this. Okay, so now if I click on open color chooser, you can see we have a nice color chooser in here.